This is Jose Antonio Gonzalez, a 60-year-old street sweeper from Spain who died while cleaning the streets of Madrid in July 2022. The cause of death? Heat stroke. On the day of the incident, temperatures in Madrid reached 40 degrees Celsius, or 104 degrees Fahrenheit.
El paciente ha presentado dos crisis convulsivas y posteriormente a nuestra llegada observamos que la temperatura central del paciente es 41 grados y medio.
Gonzalez died at the hospital the following day. That summer, the weather agency in Spain recorded 41 days of heat waves. The summer of 2015 held the previous record, 29 days of heat waves. That's a 40% increase.
En este dato que nos deja la ola de calor. Miren, van a verlo ahí. 510 fallecidos en nuestro país en tan solo una semana.
Although Gonzalez's story is not an isolated case, news of his death triggered a debate in Spain and across Europe that is centered on two climate-related issues. First, the need for public and private sectors in Europe to acknowledge and regulate heat stress as a workplace hazard. Second, why increasing temperatures and heat waves in the continent are likely to impact low-income workers the most. Occupational heat stress occurs when the work environment or equipment causes body temperature to rise and exceed its physiological capacity to cool down. Workers exposed to heat stress may have their physical and cognitive abilities impaired, increasing their chances of suffering or causing a work accident.
Agriculture, construction workers, they are the most vulnerable by all means because they work outside during the high heat of the day.
But heat stress also affects those working indoors, in facilities with high temperatures like greenhouses and factories, as well as workers wearing clothing that increase their body temperature.
They happen to be the lowest income earners, right? So they are not just vulnerable in terms of their exposure to heat stress, but also because they tend to have lower decision-making powers in the labor force.
Heat stress might also result in a range of heat-related symptoms like dehydration, health conditions like chronic kidney disease, or death. For a more detailed explanation of causes, symptoms, and prevention related to heat stress, you can find a link in the description below. The problem of heat stress as a workplace hazard is neither new nor is it exclusive to Spain and the rest of Europe. In Qatar, more than 6,500 migrant workers have died since the country won the right to host the World Cup 10 years ago.
Migrants working on infrastructure projects in the final months before the tournament have died or suffered abuse, despite assurances from the Qatari government that the situation would improve.
In Latin America, chronic kidney disease has claimed an estimated 20,000 lives of sugarcane workers over the past 2 decades.
How many people have been impacted is still not really known. But what prevalent studies we have done are shocking. In those communities, 68% of the men in total, nearly all of them sugarcane workers, have stage 1 through 5 chronic kidney disease.
So how does this impact Europe? Well, with climate change, most European countries are expected to see an increase in the number of heat-related incidents in the workplace. According to the 2022 IPCC report, if the planet were to warm 3 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, the number of deaths and people at risk of heat stress will increase threefold.
People everywhere in Europe, they see that they are in danger. Workers everywhere, it's clear that everybody's in danger. It doesn't matter whether you live in Sweden or in Cyprus. This needs to be addressed.
Despite the urgency of the matter, there is no legislation at the European level to protect vulnerable workers from heat stress.
We need to support these people because they're working in extreme conditions. Their bodies are asked to deliver tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of power output, the same power output that athletes are requested to deliver, but they don't get any support.
But the tide might be turning. Researchers and trade unions are pushing for more robust heat health legislation across Europe. But with what is projected to be a very warm summer just around the corner, they are running up against the clock.
Humanity is on thin ice, and that ice is melting fast.
The world has already warmed 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Without immediate and intensive action to mitigate climate change, the impacts of heat stress will only get worse.